What is going on, guys, and welcome to another Reddit series. And in this particular series, what I like to do is to try and capture a Reddit post, a subreddit post, essentially where there are a lot of upvotes, and try to answer those particular questions. That way I can hit the masses and help people out, particularly that these issues seem to be coming up quite frequently. So being said, before we get started, remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And let's get this series started out. As normal, I have already pre-selected the particular question, although this question isn't so much a question per se, but I think it's important, something that I think needs to be brought up, because a lot of it has been marked up quite a bit, to say the least. And I think this can really help people. And I want to give my essential 2 cents on this particular topic. So it says, stop wasting your time trying to explain what you are about and what you are doing. Stop wasting your time trying to explain what you are about and what you have done. Your philosophy should be embodied, spoken through actions. Let unspoken words explain it, and while you live it, let someone else try to define it. When you give them the job of categorizing and yourself the job of living. Now, this particular question, I think, is extremely important because of the fact I talk about tags all the time. And when you essentially talk about yourself to somebody, you always relate those tags to that particular person to help define who you are. And, this is just a normal thing. This is essentially how we try to alleviate a lot of different, questions someone maybe have about us. But then when you essentially put tags on yourself, you essentially confine yourself to whatever you essentially depict as that particular thing. Now, when you try to live this way and living who you are and trying to explain who you are, you find again that you constrain yourself, right? Instead of just doing what you feel like you want to do, right? You're going with your intuition and understanding that this is essentially your guiding compass that can lead you to places that you know that you want to be at. And when you essentially don't follow that intuition and confine yourself into a box, you put a lot of limitations on yourself. You don't see a lot of the other options that are out there in life. And again, something that may be outside of what you are defining as yourself, it may restrict you to going out and perhaps trying something that could open your eyes to new opportunities. Because I talk about perspective all the time. I talk about going and seeking experiences. And this is a big reason why, because if you are defining yourself as opposed to just taking action on those things that are curious and living the experience, or letting other people's beliefs and trying to confine you and define who you are, right? A lot of these different things will, again, hinder the life experience. Because ultimately, I feel to be the happiest in your life, you have to remove the constraints, remove the uncertainty, and just to start executing. And that's a good thing to this question, is by allowing, well, he essentially says, give them the job to categorize and yourself the job of living. But the thing is you don't want to get this mixed up, right? People can categorize you or whatever they want to do, depict who you are. That's naturally what they're going to do. A lot of times they'll say you can't do this because you are this. And in saying that, they are putting limitations on you. And it's essentially your duty, right, to live your life. And they can define you, and you can throw them off by not living in that box. Because if you remove the box from yourself, you're essentially limitless, right? Because you can go out and do what feels right in that given moment. And by living this way, you find that you're not so stressed out. You're not so worried about where the next thing will come, right? You're not living in that scarcity mindset, but more of an abundance mindset, because you know that, I believe, sometimes everything comes into your life for a reason. And you majority of the time won't even know what that reason is till after the fact. Then you look back on it, you can connect the dots and realize why that particular person or job or event or whatever the case is came into your life at that particular moment. So being said, you need to live your life how you see fit. Quit thinking that because you are a programmer that you can't go out and do self-help things, right? Or that if you are a gardener, you can't go out and become a doctor, right? There are a lot of limitations we put on ourselves because we want to be defined a specific way. And if we have the beliefs that if we don't act a specific way, that we can't be another different way, that perhaps, we've been on a particular journey or destination. We realize that this isn't the one we want to be on, but realize that we've dedicated a lot of time. Now we can't go with option B that we originally thought would perhaps bring us more joy, but didn't have all these other things associated with it that we particularly wanted in our life. So what we end up doing is we start putting constraints on ourselves and say, well, I just can't do that. And that is when you stop living, is when you tell yourself you can't do it, that there's no possibility, because the next thing that's going to happen is your brain is going to agree with you and tell you and put limitations on it and help you procrastinate and do all these other different things so you don't take action on it, as opposed to just living your life without worrying about any particular box and just being curious and just doing it. If you like it, continue to do it again. If you don't like it, remove it. Hey, I tried it, whatever. Go to the next thing, right? Ultimately, what you want to do here is to live the life that you choose to live and not be constrained about anything in life. All the constraints. I mean, I talk about all the constraints, right? And this just being another one of them, is to stop explaining yourself to other people, because other people, they won't see what you see. Right? If they have essentially a mental model of who you have been. And so if you go outside of that mental model, it's hard for them to grasp, just like it's hard for you to grasp becoming somebody else. Because until you get that track record, until you actually achieve that thing, you realize that, man, I am capable of doing a lot more than I can. And a lot of times it's in yourself that sees it first, in yourself that gets the change, then somebody else will. And a lot of times people will be stuck. This is talking about that fixed mindset, right? People will be stuck in that time frame that they will never change. You will never change who you are. And so they'll consistently put you in that model. Then when you make strides and leaps, you're right. Sometimes when you do that, you lose friends along the way because you lived in this particular model, you didn't enjoy it, so you got out of it, you changed it. There's a lot of conflict there because you were breaking out of that model that they saw you in. So you've essentially released that, you're living your life, they don't want to agree with what you're doing, then you eventually get to a point to where you're really thriving in whatever that choice was that you made, and they look at you and are like, wow, how can I do that now? How can I live the life the way you are now? But again, there's a grace period because you are breaking out of the norm. So being said, don't put yourself in a box. Don't allow other people to put yourself in a box. I agree with this question 100%. That is also why it is probably marked up so much because of that fact, because you should always live life to the fullest. Don't hold back. You only got one experience. Live that experience, you'll live to see greater, better, brighter days. So I hope this helps you guys. If it has, remember to hit the like button on the way out. Till next time, I will see you guys later.